guys, and welcome back to my channel. I am really excited. I feel like I start that with every video. Maybe I really just like videos and I get excited a lot. Regardless, I'm excited to make this cake today, and I'm going to show you how to make it. Now, this is my grandmother's recipe, the one that she perfected over the years, so I'm going to share with you all of her little tips and tricks, and then kind of give you a sneak peek at our little family celebration tonight. And at some point, I'm going to show you how to make fresh whipped cream in your Vitamix, because it's so easy and you never really need those canned whipped cream, cans of whipped cream again. So let's go ahead and get started. So I have my my stand mixer here, and this stand mixer is about 11 years old. So it's a little beat up. You can, if you, when I give you some close-ups of the mixer, you'll definitely be able to see it's a little beat up. My paddle is a little beat up. I've hinted strongly that I would like a new mixer this year for Christmas, so we will see. But this one's about 11 years old, but it's still going to help me make my cake. So first thing that I'm going to do is add 3 sticks of butter. Now this is this cake is called pound cake for a reason. I don't hold back. I have not altered my grandmother's recipe in the least, because it's perfect. And really, we have this cake once, maybe twice a year. So I'm not really worried about the butter and the sugar and the eggs and anything else. It is pound cake, and it is really good. 24 tablespoons, 3 sticks, and I'm gonna put those right in. I'm gonna add 3 cups of sugar. This is 2 weekends in a row. I guess this is the way it's gonna be every year. Last weekend I made my husband's birthday cake, and I didn't hold back on his birthday cake either. I make it once a year for his birthday, and it is rich and it is really good. So his birthday is the week before my daughter's birthday, so I guess from now on we're gonna have 2 weekends, 2 cakes every November. And then of course next week is Thanksgiving, so it is like the dessert month. So 3 sticks of butter, and then 3 cups of sugar. Like I said, I'm not reducing this down. Typically when I cook, I really like using natural sweeteners. I use a lot less sugar, but for this particular recipe, I'm not changing it. So 2.5, 1 more makes 3. I'm gonna add a pinch of salt. Hold on, oh, you're throwing it away. And 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese. Now I should have mentioned when I added the butter that the butter has been sitting at room temperature, and so has the cream cheese. So nothing is very cold, and that's going to mean that everything is going to mix a lot better together. So I'm going to cream these 4 ingredients together in my stand mixer before I add all my eggs. Okay, so this next part is really important if you want a truly delicious pound cake that is light and not super dense. And that is, you really need to use cake flour. Now, I get this Swan's Down cake flour. Is what my grandmother always used. It's what I use for this pound cake. I'm not usually super fastidious about things like this, but believe me when I say that you need to use cake flour for pound cake. You also don't need to skip the step of sifting it. That's a big deal, and it's gonna make a difference in your cake. You're gonna get a cake that's a lot denser if you don't sift it. So I'm just gonna use this little fine mesh strainer here and run my flour through this, and it's gonna sift my flour. And I'm gonna go ahead and sift it before I measure. So I'm just pouring it in, and then I'm just gonna tap it until all of the flour falls through. Now, if you really didn't want to buy cake flour, if you just wanted to use all-purpose flour, then what you could do is you could just sift it multiple times, probably like 4 or 5 times, because really what cake flour is, it's just flour, all-purpose flour that has been sifted a lot more. But really the easiest thing to do is just go ahead and buy the cake flour. One of these boxes will last me a while because truly I don't use cake flour often, but it's good to have on hand. Okay, so now my flour is sifted. It's nice and light and airy, and I'm gonna add 3 cups of this sifted flour into my cake batter that's in my mixer, and then my cake is gonna be ready to cook. And I'll show you the process of putting it in the tube pan and the extra special touch that my grandmother added, which may not be that fancy, but it sure makes a difference in your cake. My cake is all ready to go. My oven is preheated to 325 already, and I have a double oven, and I'm using the larger half of the oven because I want to make sure that it has plenty of room for that heat to circulate and that the top doesn't get done before the middle does. So leave me a comment below because I'm curious. Do you let your kids or do you yourself lick the beater here? I'm not going to scrape every little bit off of there because to me that's one of the perks of childhood. I did it all the time growing up, and I'm going to let the kids lick the beater here in a few minutes when I finish. Okay, so I have a tube pan. Stay back. I have a tube pan here. It separates like this. I'm gonna make sure that I get all the inside areas greased. I have a little bit of butter and a spatula. If you have a spray, then you can do that. I just never have spray on hand, so it's easy enough for me just to rub the butter all the way around with the spatula. You want to make sure you get this center part too, because you don't want your cake sticking to any part of the pan. And once I grease it, I'm going to lightly dust it with flour and then pour in my cake batter. Okay, so there's my cake pan. You can see it's nice and shiny, nice and sprinkled thoroughly. I'm going to use a little bit of this flour that I had left over, sprinkle it in, and then just kind of tilt and tap the pan here to distribute the flour. You want it down the sides, around the bottom, the middle. Okay, so that should be good. I'll go ahead and pour in my cake. It's nice. It's a very thick batter, but they don't call it pound cake for nothing. And you'll notice that it doesn't have any leavener or any like baking powder or baking soda or anything like that. Those eggs are going to be what gives the cake its rise and its lightness. So smooth out the cake a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then you're going to sprinkle sugar on the top. Now the top of a pound cake is really one of the best parts. That flaky crust is just amazing. And when you add a little bit of sugar to the top, it makes it brown and just get even sweeter. All right, so that's good. Probably about a tablespoon overall. Now this is gonna go in the oven just like this for 90 minutes. All right, so I'm gonna let that cake cook for 90 minutes at 325. Then I'm gonna take it out, and there's gonna be a few other steps just to get the perfect pound cake consistency, and I will show you guys when I'm finished.
Okay, so my cake is cooked for 90 minutes and it's ready to come out of the oven. I'm going to test it with a toothpick, and as long as the toothpick comes clean, then I know it's done. After that, I'm going to let it sit for 10 minutes and cool. Then after 10 minutes, just run a knife around the side, lift it out, and cover it with a cake cover to let the cake sweat.
Okay, my pound cake is done cooking, and I'm gonna make some whipped cream to go. We've got fresh strawberries, and so we're gonna have whipped cream with our pound cake and strawberries. So it's really easy to make in the Vitamix. I'm gonna use 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, about a tablespoon of maple syrup, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So I'm gonna turn the camera around and show you exactly how to do it.
Okay, so I have the Vitamix on the 3rd setting, and then you can see that it's just going to slowly mix, and the whole process takes about a minute. What I'm looking for is for stiff peaks to form on the sides of the Vitamix. So you can see the whipped cream starts to slow down, and it's only pulling down in the center. You know it's done when it's almost not pulling down at all.
Blow it out for her, JoJo.
I don't understand.
Yay! Yay! You get cake!
A cool move there.
Do I?
You're quick.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh, cake.
She just wants the strawberries. She took off the icing.
Okay.
No, she got the strawberry.
Oh, you want to light your own too? Okay, go sit down and we'll light yours.
We like
I'll bring it to you.
like mine too, Mommy.
Go sit down and I'll bring it to you.